My name is Sarah Beamer, and today I'm going to talk to you about 10 ways you can use Google Slides in your classroom. So let's go ahead and get started with number one. The first one is the one that probably one of the most obvious. It's a presentation for a lesson in your classroom. So here I have one that I created in our first video when we talked about Google Slides Basics. So this is a lesson on similes and metaphors. It's a condensed lesson, but it is a lesson. So you could just create your lesson in Google Slides, and then you could just progress through the slides as you are teaching. If you pair it with Nearpod, which is another video I have in another module, if you pair it with Nearpod, you can add an interactive part to your slides to help keep the kids more engaged. And you could use it as a formative assessment if need be. But to go on, let's go on to number two. Number two is taking that presentation idea, but having student-created presentations. So here we read The Day the Crayons Quit, and we did this at the beginning of the year to see kind of where students' writing were, and to see their technology skills. So I created one on the purple crayon, and I just wrote a letter to Duncan about the purple crayon. And then we added some images to learn how to add images to our Google Slides. And then the students were able, I actually paired this with Flipgrid. And in Flipgrid, I had the students screencast while they read their presentation in presentation mode. That way they could view each other's and make comments on each other's and give feedback while we were remote. So again, Google Slides pairing with other programs. So that was number two. We are on to number three. Number three goes along with student-created presentations, but we were using it for a vocabulary slideshow. So Storyworks, for some of their stories, has a slideshow that has a vocabulary word with a definition and a sentence with an example and an image. Some of them did not have that, so I thought it would be interesting for the students to create it. So we use it for stories, we use it in science, we use it in social studies. So this was a slideshow in Symbiosis, and I assigned this to Google Classroom for the students to create. So this was just the beginning, these are the directions, and then this was an example. So we had a word, the students, sometimes I provided the definition, sometimes they had to look up the definition, and then they had to create a sentence that used the vocabulary word that also showed that they understood the meaning of it, and then they added images to their slides to represent their sentence and that word. So again, this is where students are using their technology skills and they're using vocabulary. All right, now on to number three. Number three, oh nope, that was number three, that was vocabulary. Number four is a whole class group activity. So what I did here was we had a lesson in our science book, and I assigned students pages or sections to read, and they found the main idea and three key details. So some of them I pre-made the slides to give a little bit more guidance with some of the students, and other ones I left them a little bit more free and blank for students to be able to use their own finding the main idea and key details. So the students actually read their assigned pages and they found the main idea and then they found three details. And I put on sticky notes on the side here which students were working together. They were still able to stay apart, but they were able to work on the same slide. And as long as you pre-teach your protocol, most of the students didn't mess with each other's slides. Every once in a while there's a hiccup, but we were able to kind of manage through by somebody hitting the undo button. So this was number four, which was a group activity. And then at the end, we all kind of just went through and shared our ideas. All right, we're on to number five. Number five is an agenda. So every morning I post an agenda for the day. This usually says the same thing every day. Unpack at your seat, hang your book bag, get caught in the back of your chair, begin your morning work. I usually end up including some type of Bitmoji there just because kids find it fun. And then we have our morning work, and then anything else they need to work on, I tell them their specials, and then I give the schedule for the day. And so it's just nice for students. They come in, they see this on the Clevertouch in the morning, they read it, they know exactly what to do when to get to work, and it's just good for creating that routine. And it stops the questions of, when are we having this today? When are we having that today? So it kind of helps relieve their stress and their worry too. All right, so that is number 5. Number 6 goes with it, but when we were doing Google Meet, before I would start the meeting about 5 to 10 minutes before, and I would put myself on mute and I would just display this, and it would be students who, as they're popping into the meeting, they would see, okay, mute myself, remember chats for questions, and then you know what supplies they would need. This timer would count down. I believe this, I tried to do it where I had music, so there was like a nice music playing in the background. So the students would know that once the timer went off, there would be a ding or something, and I would come onto the Google Meet and they would be ready. So just a nice way, again, to keep the students informed and keep them comfortable. All right, we are on to number 7. So number 7 goes into projects. So this was a foldable, I like how I'm having hand gestures, foldable of theme. So we were reading Where the Red Fern Grows, and the students were determining the theme and then writing a paragraph saying what the theme was and giving 2 examples from the book in the theme. Now, originally this was all handwritten, but I felt that this year, with a lot of our typing going on and how everything these days seems to be typed, we did it more with a typing aspect. So instead of having it as a worksheet, students typed it out and then I printed it out and then they drew the pictures to go with it. It was really nice because our writing, we color code to make sure we have everything, and this is an easier way for students to highlight and then unhighlight by just highlighting and clicking, transparent, and now the highlights go away. So again, technology skills, writing skills, and still some drawing involved in there too. So that was number 7 with the projects. Another activity we did is you can create newspapers. So the students write their newspaper and find their images, and then you can print them off and you can hang them up in the hallway, or you cannot print them off and just create a digital newspaper. All right, number 9. Number 9 is a digital notebook. So this is their writer's notebook. We started a digital one at the beginning of the year because, again, we were fully remote. So there were some activities in here where students can click and drag. There's some where they were writing, brainstorming ideas and what they could write. They were creating a collage. Again, just a way to kind of get their brains thinking about writing topics and getting them ready. Now, the only recommendation I would have is that I would keep your main one up here and maybe your table of contents, if even that, and this is not a table of contents. But anytime you add a new slide, I would recommend adding it to the top. So I would add a slide here, and then I would just probably drag it up or add it right after the title page, because I was starting, the students' ones were much longer because they were writing continually. I kept adding or having them add the slides at the end, and then they would have to scroll all the way down. So just a side note, if you choose to go this route, I would add the slides right underneath the cover title, just to save you time and the kids time. All right, and finally, number 10. Number 10 is probably one of my favorites. It's the most complicated to make, but it is one of my favorites. So you can create worksheets, digital ones, but that have drag and drop components. So here was a back to school one I had students at the beginning of the year. They explained how they feel about being back in school, and then they just kind of dragged an emoji under each whatever they were feeling. So this was more of a basic one, but here's one that's more complex. So this one I did get off Teachers Pay Teachers. It's from Glitter and Third. But this has drag and drop vocabulary that students can do. There's sorting. Predator, predator. That's not a predator, by the way. That's a predator. Predator, predator. So they just drag and drop. And then this one had an identifying. So they would type in their answer. Here's another brainstorm where you type in. But again, the key thing is that it had a drag and drop aspect. And you could add that to Google Classroom and assign the kid a student each their own. And then there's a drag and drop activity there. So there are 10 ways to use Google Slides in your classroom. There are plenty more out there. There's even more if you combine it with other programs. Just try it, give it a go. So pick one, go with it, and see how it goes for you. I use the word go like a lot there. All right, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you learned something. Bye.